Today, our group will be presenting on the topic Common Fallacies in Political and Commercial Advertisements. I'm the group leader for this group assessment. In modern society, advertisements strongly influence how people think, vote, and make purchasing decisions. However, many of these messages rely on emotional persuasion rather than logical reasoning. In this presentation, we will analyze 4 common logical fallacies and discuss their impact on society. Thank you, and I will now pass to my group member.
Advertising is one of the most powerful tools in the modern society. It doesn't just sell product, it influences public opinion, consumer behavior, and even political decisions. Today ads are everywhere and they do much more than promote items or policies. They shape how we think, what we believe, and how we feel about certain issues. They can influence our emotions and even our social attitudes. That's why it's important to understand how advertising works. In this lesson, we will focus on how logic, fallacies, or errors in reasoning we used in advertisements to influence our thinking and persuade us without always realizing it.
Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about the background studies of fallacies in politics and advertising. A fallacy is an error reasoning. It's powerful because it targets emotional instead of logic. In politics, fallacies can help leaders gain power. In advertising, they help companies increase profits. In 1890s, yellow journalism used emotionals and exaggerated news to influence people. For example, after the sinking of the USS Maine, newspaper blamed Spain without strong evidence. It increased the public anger and pushed the United States towards war. In 20th century, Edward Bernays used psychology in advertising in his Torch of Freedom campaign. He links the cigarettes to woman freedom, and he's changed the public opinion through the emotional appeal. Today's fallacies are even stronger in digital age. AI-generated content and deepfakes spread misinformation quickly on platforms like YouTube and TikTok. In conclusion, fallacies has existed for a long time, but they are more powerful today. This is why critical thinking is very important. Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Mayam. My name is Chong Chi Wei, and I will expand to talk about fallacy in historical of media. Yellow journalism comes with origins as 19th century from US reading materials. It began to spread throughout the Yellow Kids comic and a series of critical editorials by Evan Workman for the New York Times. It was several technical, identified by Institute for Propaganda Analysis, IPA, to manipulate the public, which is name-calling, filtering generalities, transfer testimonial, plan for castaking, and bedraggle. Moreover, advertisers allowed to target consumers based on their physiological trait, lifestyle, and value. Classical example, I'm a Mac vs I'm PC campaign by Apple demonstrate the false element in commercial branding. These advertisements bypass discussions of hardware. Until this generation, AI generate contents like AI's law and brand loads video, maximize view, and advertising revenue. They fit on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Deepfake technology also used to impersonate politicians' face and voice to spread misinformation. And this is my part, and I'll pass to the next person.
Good afternoon to Doctor. I am Tai Wei Shen, and I will be presenting the problem statement of our topic, Common Fallacies in Political and Commercial Advertisement. The main problem nowadays is that many advertisements replace logical reasoning with emotional manipulations. Instead of using facts, they appeal to people's emotions. This will cause poor consumer decisions, political polarizations, and also weaker critical thinking among the public. If people realize more on emotions than rational evaluations, democratic discussions will gradually become weaker.
Hello, my name is Luo. Our first point is ad hominem. This fallacy means attacking the person instead of the argument. In advertisement, brands often shift focus by attacking a competitor's image, like the I'm a Mac campaign, which framed Mac as cool and modern, while painting PC as outdated, avoiding technical comparisons. That's ad hominem. In action. Now over to the next speaker.
Hello, I am Min Hao, and I'll be continuing from the previous person. Now, what are the problems of ad hominem? Now, one of the main problems with this fallacy is that it distracts people from the real issue. As previously stated, this is when the person making the argument is targeted rather than the argument itself. So it creates conflict between the person making the argument and the person arguing against it. And this creates tension where the two people argue over who's correct, over whether the argument is actually true or not. It leads to a large amount of what is known as a lot of judgment between the two people, and will lead to a lot of emotional stress between the two, and that makes lots of tension. And this can lead to what is known as tribalism. Tribalism is an extremely old instinct in humans where we gather around people with our own same ideas. And while this used to be extremely useful back in the day when there were a lot of predators around, it has led to a lot of issues in modern day, since it leads to people accusing each other of bad things even though all that they do is disagree with one point. And this in turn leads to what is known as herd mentality. And hello, I am Min Hao, and I'll be continuing from the previous person. Now, what are the problems of ad hominem? Now, one of the main problems with this fallacy is that it distracts people from the real issue. As previously stated, this is when the person making the argument is targeted rather than the argument itself. So it creates conflict between the person making the argument and the person arguing against it. And this creates tension where the two people argue over who's correct, over whether the argument is actually true or not. It leads to a large amount of what is known as a lot of judgment between the two people, and will lead to a lot of emotional stress between the two, and that makes lots of tension. And this can lead to what is known as tribalism. Tribalism is an extremely old instinct in humans where we gather around people with our own same ideas. And while this used to be extremely useful back in the day when there were a lot of predators around, it has led to a lot of issues in modern day, since it leads to people accusing each other of bad things even though all that they do is disagree with one point. And this in turn leads to what is known as herd mentality, and this in turn leads to a bandwagon fallacy, which I'll be passing on to the next person to explain that part. This in turn leads to a bandwagon fallacy, which I'll be passing on to the next person to explain that part.
Hi everyone, today let's talk about the bandwagon fallacy when we think popular is correct. For example, if many people buy a short breed, we think it's good. If an app is popular, we think it's best. That's the bandwagon effect. McDonald's uses billions and billions servers. They don't say the food is healthy or tasty, they just say everyone eats here, so it can't be won. But it makes us stop thinking we buy things just because they are popular, not because we need them. So next time you see top sales or everyone uses it, ask, do I need this? Do I like it? Don't follow the crowd, think for yourself. Thank you.
Hello everyone. This slide explains the problem of the bandwagon policy. First, it encourages herd mentality. People follow the crowd without asking questions or thinking deeply about the issue. Second is it reduces the independent thinking instead of analyzing facts and evidence. Individuals simply agree with what most people believe, and that is it is ignore the actual value of product or idea. just because something is popular does not mean that it is true or high quality. In philosophy, truth should be based on evidence and reasoning, not on majority opinion. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jun. Today I will talk about logical fallacy in old advertising as use tricks, insulated or fakes. First, appeal to emotion, old secret as used to cool image. Second, appeal to authority as use celebrity or doctor. Third, bandwagon festive. Say everyone use it. First, critic say a product bring happiness. This cause talk because people think correctly. Misleading as harmful. We need critical things. We should say through this trick. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Today I will show you the danger of blind trust in authority. The openings of events create votes, but is accept them without question. We will have a pass. One will show events is the thalidomide cause. The trend was when recommended to pregnant women by trusted doctors, but it caused many of babies to be brought with stories about Africans. The shows that ever seemingly remember medical came to have overstance result when they lacked enough evidence. And so we must remember authority must be supported by clean evidence and ask reasonability. We should not believe something just become dependency. So instead, we should ask for proof and think of ourselves. Thank you.
Hello everyone, let's talk about the trick called a false dilemma. A false dilemma is when someone gives you only two choices. They say you have to pick one or the other, but they ignore all the other good options. Let's look at an old example, the Desi advertisement. The ad said, "Vote for safety or face nuclear war." This was a false dilemma. It made a big, complicated political problems in like only two choices. It didn't talk about other ways to keep people safe. This trick is everywhere. It's in ads, arguments, and even politics. When someone says you have only two choices, stop and think. Ask yourself, are there more options? Don't let a false dilemma trick you. Think for yourself. Thank you.
So, why are fallacies effective? According to Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, humans often rely on fast, intuitive thinking instead of slow, careful analysis. We tend to react emotionally before think logically. Advertisements exploit this tendency. Emotional messages are easier for us to accept than complex facts. When we hear things like everyone is using it or experts recommend it, we often believe it without questioning the evidence. This is why logical fallacies are powerful. They simplify issues and influence our decisions through emotion. Therefore, media literacy and philosophical education are important. They help us slow down, think critically, and make more rational choices instead of being easily persuaded. Thank you.
So, to conclude, logical factions are very common in political and commercial advertisements in Apple's and Messi and PC campaign. Instead of fashion only on facts or technical details, their aid make the PC target look boring and old-fashioned. This is an example of a homonym because it tags the person's image instead of the actual argument. Advertisements often influence us through emotions, authority, popularity, or influence. So, as consumers, we should not just accept what we see. We should question emotional messages, look for real evidence, and think critically. By doing this, we can make better and more original designs.